So my warmest greetings to our president, Janis. Thank you for his words, and to the other members of the executive committee, to the Secretary General, Sister Marjolin and Miss Nicole, to my direct bosses, Father Jesus and Brother Jesus Miguel, who are there, and to all the other, all you who are there gathered. I would have liked to be there with you, but due to other commitments, it was not possible. I hope it will be possible on another occasion. In my presentation, Father Janis asked about that internal team. Well, it is I was in a Claretian team, a team in my order, trying to develop that youth and vocational ministry during 12 years. And now I'm in CONFER, in our conference of major superiors, and also helping in a school. Well, let's see if this time after lunch is productive. In Spain, they say, if you want to kill a friar, take away his siesta. Let's hope that those of us who are in the habit of having a little nap in the middle of the day can survive this afternoon, and even share on this interesting topic on the vocation apostolate. I will be reading because of the translations, and I think the translators have the papers, so well, I will go reading. Sometimes maybe I go out of papers, I will try to say for the translators, and when I go back to papers, I will say also back to papers. Yeah, I don't know if I can share the screen technically. If technically I can share the screen, please. The one who is with the Zoom, is it possible?
You should share, I think.
No, it says I'm not allowed to. Hi, Father Sol. I think it's in the list of participants. I should have to be allowed there, I think.
You can try now. Perhaps it functions.
Okay. Yeah, now I am able. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyway, I will start talking, and then in some point I will share some images. So my sharing is what I think that I was asked to share about the common work we have been done more or less 2 years ago. And well, I don't go into that part of the youth and vocational ministry, but we can share about it after my sharing. Yeah? So I go to the papers. Talking about the vocations apostolate is a question that integrates many aspects. We can compare it to a polyhedron, like this. Yeah, a polyhedron, an image there to our Pope Francis. Reality is not a perfect sphere with all points equidistant from a center, but rather a set of different realities which at the same time are called to integrate into a beautiful and harmonious unity. That's a polyhedron. The vocations apostolate is a polyhedron with many different sides. The individual young people with their quests, we religious with our reality, our church with its lights and shadows, and the society in which we live with its achievements and its shortcomings. Yeah, in this presentation, we are going to begin with by outlining a brief context of this question, and then go on to focus on 3 points related to the Vocations Apostolate network of UCHESM. Who are we? What have we done so far? And where do we go from here? It is a fraternal sharing on a recent and open process, which wants to count on your contributions in order to continue taking the steps that the Spirit of God may inspire us to take. So the first point is the context of the Vocations Apostolate in 2022. The context of the Vocations Apostolate in 2022 is the context of our societies, of our church, and of our religious congregations in each of the countries where we are present. A context which, as in every age, presents possibilities and challenges in each of these areas. At the ecclesial level, 2 recent events give a perspective to the Vocations Apostolate: the synodal process on young people, faith, and vocational discernment, and the synodal process on synodality, which is currently underway. The Synod of Young People and the exhortation Christus Vivit. Here I have Christus Vivit. Wow. They say that when a synod is over, the Pope asks the Synod Fathers what could be the next topic to work on. After the 2 assemblies on the family, there were several topics on the table. One of them was vocations of special consecration. Another was young people. It is said that the Pope brought the 2 themes together in a broader and more inclusive perspective. And so in 2017, a synodal process entitled Young People, Faith and Vocational Discernment was announced. After a highly participatory preparatory phase, which included a meeting of 300 young people from all over the world in Rome, the Synodal Assembly took place in October 2018. An instrumentum laboris was submitted to the Assembly, which brought together all the previous consultations. The Assembly produces a final document with many reflections endorsed by a very large majority of the participants in the Assembly. And a few months later, Pope Francis wrote the apostolic exhortation Christus Vivit, a beautiful piece of writing with many issues directly dedicated to young people and other issues in a more reflective vein. I know that the major superiors, as most of you are, or secretaries, etc., are especially those who have a lot of work to do. At the same time, I invite those of you who have not yet read these documents to do so. If you have little time, you can focus on Christus Vivit. If you have more time, you can also read the final document. There is a final document. Yeah? And if you have even more time, I also invite you to read the Instrumentum Laboris. The few documents are complementary, and I think each one of them is really good. Huh? So what in summary would be the great contribution of this whole process to the question before us? Well, the very title of the synodal process tells us that the starting point is the life of young people with their capacities and limitations, their quests and crossroads. We are called to share with them as the Lord Jesus did with the disciples on the road to Emmaus, sharing even a stretch of the road to the distance, welcoming them and listening to them unconditionally as the basis of everything. From there, the time will come to propose faith to those who do not have it or have lost it, or to help those who already believe in it to grow in it. And in this journey of growth in faith, a fundamental ingredient is vocational discernment. Asking the Lord, who am I, for the discovering a personal response within the framework of the different forms of Christian life. the passage of Jesus with the disciples of Emmaus, is one of the fundamental texts of the synodal process, and it is also the paradigm of our pastoral journey with the young people, open to their vocational search. Thus, the Synod of Youth places us in a broad perspective of the Vocations Apostolate, based on the connection with the young people and their faith journey. This perspective goes beyond a Vocations Apostolate focused exclusively on the promotion of consecrated vocations. At the same time, in taking on this broader perspective, it should not be forgotten that within this vocational proposal, we must come to present our consecrated life as a possible path for young people. And the second synodal process, which is important for us, is the call for synodality. I shall now the image of the synodal process. Recently, it was from 2021 to 2023, but recently we were told that it will be one more year to take all the contributions and do the best way we can. Yeah. So synodality is one of the trending topics in our church. It wants to be more than a fad. In fact, it is another name from communion. In this case, the emphasis is on working together as a church, all the members of the people of God, each one from our baptismal vocation, counting also on our specific formation and vocation. Two key words to understand synodality are co-responsibility and participation. And also the three words which with this whole process is presented to us in this figure are communion, participation, and mission. In these days, as I was telling, it has been announced that the next Ordinary General Assembly of the Synod of Bishops, which will deal with this question, will be held in two sessions, 1 year apart. The first from 4 to 29 October 2023, and the second in October 2024. Yeah. It is said that the Synod of Youth was one of the driving forces behind the call for synodality. In the same exhortation, Christus Vivit, there are several numbers referring to a synodal pastoral care, especially Christus Vivit 203 to 208. In these issues, there are two emphases. The first one is to involve young people in their own pastoral process, and not merely passive spectators. In this sense, we are called to a pastoral care with young people, and not only to a pastoral care for young people. A second emphasis is that of counting on all members of the people of God and all proposals that help us to find our objective. Francis explains it very clearly. He says in Christus Vivit 205. At the same time, we should take into greater consideration those practices that have shown their value, the methods, language, and aims that have proved truly effective in bringing young people to Christ and to the church. It does not matter where they are coming from, or what levels that they have resided, whether conservative or liberal, traditional or progressive. What is important is that we make use of everything that has borne good fruits and effectively communicates the joy of the gospel. End of the quote. Synodality with young people, especially synodality with young people and synodality among pastoral workers, with young people as a reference point in their journey of faith and from a proposal of vocational discernment. This is our context. We have lived through a few years of pandemic, which have broken many inertias and obliged us to rethink many things. Let us hope that enriched by the synodal process on young people and on synodality, we can give a new impulse to our vocations apostolate in this context in which we are. So now I will share the second point from this presentation. Okay, here is our, oh, we are in the end. Sorry, we go to the beginning. Yeah, here. Okay. Okay, so we have seen the figure of the polyhedron. We have seen the context of the vocations apostolate. And the synod of young people and the synod of synodality. So now the second point, who we are, national reference in the conferences of Europe and other people. The working group on vocations ministry, which we have called Vocations Apostolate Network, was born from a request of you, to consider this topic as something important in our days. This project of vocations ministry in Europe among religious was born from the General Assembly of Vocations in 2020, where it appeared as a priority of the national conferences. After our first online meeting in May 2021, we have been taking steps to clarify who we are and what we can do together. We will look at these steps one by one in the next section. Before that, I thought it would be interesting to take a moment to look at who is currently involved in this project. The first point to bear in mind is that the situation in each conference of major superiors is different. In some places, the action is only between religious congregations. In other places, there is some kind of collaboration with the Bishops' Conference. And in still other places, there is a total coordination with those conferences in what is called a National Vocations Center. Although we originally called for National Vocations Directors, with the passage of time, we looked for a common name that will integrate the different profiles, which has finally become national reference of the Vocations Apostolate. At the present, we are in contact with 21 conferences of major superiors in Europe, although one of them does not yet have a contact person. So I'm going out of papers. We are going to see the map of Vocations. You see the countries, which national conference of major superiors. This is the list. Well, this was our first label, and you see in green are the countries where we have some contact for this network of Vocations Apostolate. It is underlined in green. Yeah, all those countries we have one person. Poland we have two, one from female conference and other from male conference. And as I was saying, Slovakia we have a contact person, but he's not the person for vocation. So well, that's in yellow. Yeah. So well, we are a quite wide net. At least one person in each country. So I go back to papers. As a testimony of this variety of profiles, let us look at the role played by each of these persons, which situates us in the different ways of organizing this apostolate in each place. For example, Albania. There is a director of the National Vocations Office for the Albanian Bishops' Conference. He's also a member of the National Confederation of Religious as president of that southern Albania. Austria, the contact person by now they have changed just now, but she was a leader of a team running an institution of the Austrian Conference of Religious, supporting vocation in general and religious vocations, connecting with the vocations officers of the congregations. Belgium, French-speaking manager of the National Vocation Center of the Bishops' Conference of Belgium. Czech Republic, the contact person is the Secretary of the Council for the Pastoral Care and Vocations of the Czech Bishops' Conference. She also collaborates with the Conference of Religious. England and Wales, the sister here is the promoter of religious life of the National Vocations Office of the Conference of Religious and Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales. From France, we have a sister who is responsible for vocation at the National Service for the Evangelization of Young People and Vocations directly of the French Episcopal Conference. Some more conferences. Germany, we have two people. One is member of the working group on the vocational pastoral care of religious orders and of the burial of the Bishops' Conference, and the other person is the director of the Commission for Vocation Directors of Congregations in Germany. From Hungary, there is one person for both conferences, females and males. She is the responsible of the National Vocation Apostolate team, recently born in Hungary, under the two conferences of religious, male and female. From Ireland, we have a woman. She's the director of Vocations Ireland, linked to the Conference of Religious. Vocations Ireland is also on the Manuel Vocations Council of the Vocations of the Bishops' Conference. Italy, we have two persons, two sisters. One of them is the national contact for the Conference of Women Religious for the Pastoral Care of Youth and Vocations. And the other one is the delegate for the Bishops' Conference for the Office of for Vocations and Youth Pastoral Care. From Latvia, we have a woman. She's on the board of Consecrated Life in Latvia. From Lithuania, the sister is responsible for the Vocation Apostolate for the Lithuanian Conference of Religious and coordinator of the Vocations Pastoral Care of the Kaunas Archdiocese. And then finally, the last conferences from the Netherlands. The sister there is the representative of the Conference of Dutch Religious for the Diocesan Vocations Apostolate Network and for the Interdiocesan Committee for Vocations in the Netherlands. From Poland, females, she is the head of the Vocations section, part of the Formation Commission of the Polish Conference of Women Religious. And from males, the father is a professional assistant at the Polish Conference of Religious and also collaborates with the Conference of Religious in Poland. From Romania, the sister is delegate of the Romanian Conference of Religious for the Vocation Apostolate. From Slovenia, the sister is member of the Commission for Vocation and Formation of the Conference of Religious of Slovenia. From Spain, me and another brother who is also with me. I am the head of the Youth Vocational Pastoral Area of the Spanish Conference of Religious. And we have an increasing collaboration with the Episcopal Conference. And then from Switzerland, the woman who is there is responsible for the pastoral care of young people and vocations of the French-speaking Swiss Bishops' Conference. So as you see, we are many different people with many different profiles. Yeah? So who are we? We are national reference with several names and profiles of Vocations Apostolate, with many names and profiles, as we will see then in a questionnaire we did, related in some way with the Conference of Major Superiors, and sometimes in coordination with the conferences of bishops. This is the people who are in this net. So, third step. Let's see if we can see what we have done. Well, presented below are the steps taken since May 2021, with some basic details of each action, open to questions that you may arise in the subsequent dialogue. So we can say we have done 12 steps. First step is the first meeting 1.5 years ago, on the 25th of May 2021. Based on the request of the General Assembly of UCHES, as I said, in 2020, this project was initiated under under the presidency of Father Lavang Solt, who is there, and the General Secretary, Sister Marjorie Brunin, with Sister Kerstin Mary from Germany as facilitator. You can see her here in the center of the screen. This first online meeting is open to people involved in the Vocations Apostolate in each conference of Major Superiors, and was attended by 30 people from 21 different conferences. There was a good atmosphere of dialogue and an interest in moving forward on this shared path. This image is the final word cloud that emerged from the proposals of the participants. And out of papers, you can see there, formation, exchange initiatives, more detailed sharing, working in smaller groups, continue networking. Well, and some other words, some of them in some languages I can't understand, but you can see there many sentences, many words in many languages. Yeah. So that was the first step 1.5 years ago. Back to papers. Second step, change in coordination. October 2021. Sister Kerstin Marie was unable to continue as facilitator of this project. Father Luis Manuel from Spain was asked to take on this responsibility. In dialogue with the then president, Father Zolt, and the secretary, Sister Marjorie, Father Luis Manuel accepts on one condition: to have a core group that can speak the same language, in principle English, and that will be the one to think that group and boost the process, meeting online approximately 2 or 3 times per trimester. So with that condition, we go to step 3, towards a core group, November 2021. In response to the request made by the General Secretary of UCHES, the core group will be formed with 7 people, 6 religious and 1 lay, belonging to 5 conferences: Germany, Spain, France, Poland, and Switzerland. So here you have the faces of all of us, with Father Zolt, the previous president, and Sister Marjorie. She's Anne from Poland. In the second line, Sister Anne from Poland, Father, I forgot his name, Father from Germany. Can't remember now, as we don't see since May, more or less. Father Martin, sorry, Father Martin. Sister Heike Maria, also from Germany. Then Sister Marie Valérie from France. Brother Jorge from Spain. Miss Claire from the Swiss conference, and me. Yeah? So we are the 7 in the core group with the previous president and the general secretary. I go back to papers. Between the months of December 2021 and May 2022, the core group met 4 times by video conference, in addition to more frequent exchange via email and WhatsApp group. So 5th step branding, January 2022. At the beginning of this year, a graphic brand of the UCHES Vocation Apostolate Network was created. This graphic design shows a map of Europe with many people connected. The initial of the name of our group in English, Vocations Apostolate Network, VEN, give rise to the word van, which is another graphic symbol of the brand. On the van is the word Christus vivit and a dove representing the Holy Spirit. Next to it, the slogan, helping one another. Yeah, so this is our brand. Well, this is the detail, and this is the complete brand. Sixth step, thinking about what to do. Meetings for the first whole half, of 2022. At the second meeting of the core group, a couple of online meetings for the first half of 2022 were agreed upon. First, an assembly of national referents for the Vocations Apostolate with preliminary work for March 29th, 2022. And second, a second meeting, a meeting of national teams for the Vocations Apostolate to think together about youth culture in Europe today, planned for the 31st of May of 2022. Both actions with the dates were communicated at the end of January from the General Secretariat of UCHESM to all the presidents of the conferences and to all the national referents with whom there was contact at that time. Yeah, the seventh step, it was all a word because it was a personal contact with each national referent during February and March 2022. During the months of February and March 2022, the coordinator of the core group wrote personally to each of the persons who had participated in the meeting of May 2021 to verify whether they had the profile of national referent of the Vocations Apostolate from the Conference of Major Superiors, whether another person was the person who should be there, or whether there had been any change in this function. In this dialogue, some information was gathered about the specific profile of each of these people. This completed a list of contact persons from the 21 conferences with which we currently have contact in this project. The eighth step is responding to a questionnaire, March 2022. As a prelude of the Assembly of National Referents, a questionnaire with 3 questions was sent out and answered by the contacts of the 21 conferences. These were the questions and the graphic results, which were completed by any other open answers. The first questions you can see there is looking at the work you do at the national level from your Conference of Major Superiors and or your Episcopal Conference, which of these statements best reflects what you do. As you can see, the answer A, 45%, our work integrates youth ministry and vocation ministry. In the line of the synod, on youth, youth ministry and vocation ministry. With another 45%, answer B, our work focuses on vocations ministry in a broad sense, promoting all forms of life in the church. So more or less half of us, youth ministry and vocational ministry, and another 45% focused on vocational ministry in a broad sense. Only 10%, I think 2 answers were none of the above. And then people explain, but in the C letter, nobody answered that. Our work focuses on vocational ministry in a specific sense, promoting mainly religious life. So most of us, we move, in my case, youth and vocational ministry, and others, vocational work in a broad sense, promoting all forms of life in the church, including religious life. The second question, is in relation to the World Day of Prayer for Vocations, 4th Sunday of Easter. Do you organize any significant events at the national level? And the 75%, we said yes. And we shared on it in our meeting, the different events we did in the national level. The third question was, apart from this World Day, are you planning any other special event related to the Vocations Apostolate this year? And 90% we said yes, and we shared also about it in the assembly. So, well, I think maybe this first question is especially interesting. No? In our conferences, most of us, we work vocation ministry integrated with youth ministry, and another high percentage, you work focused on vocational ministry in a broad sense, no? Including religious life, but in a broader sense. So, back to papers. Ninth step, thinking a core document, March 2022. Together with the results of this questionnaire, the national reference received the draft of a core document that was worked on by the core group, which contained the following points: name of the project, Vocations Apostolate Network of UCHESM, identifying image, which is one of the van, target groups, national reference, national teams, and so on, organization and meetings. Well, this is just a draft, but we thought we could have something of connection by prayer, knowing one another, thinking together, sharing experiences. Yeah. I will say later that we stopped this document because I think we have to think more. But well, this is a draft. We can also talk about this after. And finally, organizations and meetings, also questions of economy, communication. Well, a draft of how could we organize in this group. No? Some meetings for the national reference, other meetings broader for more people. Well, this is just a draft paper. We will continue with this thing this year, but by now it's stopped. 10th step, UCHESM Assembly of National Reference. It took place on the 29th of March of 2022. On that day, the first Assembly of National Reference of the Vocations Apostolate Network of UCHESM took place. 18 people representing 15 conferences took part in it. This was the announcement. We usually use 3 languages: English, Italian, majority, and then for some people French. And here we are the people who were there, still with our previous president, and people from 15 conferences, some of those conferences with 2 persons. So I go back to paper. After a greeting from the president and an opening prayer, there was time to look back over the road traveled, to review the answers to the questionnaire, to communicate in language groups, and to look together at the draft of the core document. In the dialogue around this document, the question of simplifying the structures came up, trying not to duplicate the common work done with the bishops' conferences in some of our conferences. So I go out of paper. This is a point why we stopped the base document or the core document, because some of these people who were there, they said, well, we have another connection between the bishops' conferences and we should not to duplicate initiatives. So we said, well, let's go slowly. Let's ask what they are doing in the bishops' conferences, and let's think what we can do, not to duplicate things, but to be complementary with that, with those initiatives. Finally, in this assembly, the formation meeting planned for May was presented. Then, 11th step, UCHESM formation meeting. It took place on 31st of May of 2022. More than 40 people participated, linked to about 18 conferences. Yeah. 2 presentations were given by Ms. Isabelle Jonvaux. You can see her there, a French sociologist working at the Institute of Religious Studies of the University of Graz, Austria, and Father Roman Grosewski, more or less the pronunciation, Grosewski, Jesuit, a Polish Jesuit currently working with young people in Copenhagen, in Denmark. After the presentations, there was a time for dialogue in language groups, followed by a dialogue with the speakers. This is the photo of the attendances. We have Father Janis as president on May. Well, you can see there most of the national reference and other people from several conferences. The meeting could be followed in several languages with simultaneous translation into English, Italian, and French, as well as Czech. And they asked one people was translating to Czech, so it was also in Czech. And the overall assessment was very positive. The overall assessment was very positive. And then the last step by now, contact with the CCEE EVS, European Vocations Service, May, June 2022. In response to their request of the first assembly of national reference not to duplicate the work, from May 2022, a formal contact was initiated with the Council of European Bishops' Conferences in the person of its Secretary General, Mr. Martin Michalik. After some initial communications by email, we had a meeting by video conference between Mr. Martin, Father Janis, our president, Mr. Michel Gianola, director of the National Center for Vocation Ministry in Italy and current secretary of the EVS, and me, Father Luis Manuel. In that meeting, we shared the journey we had made, as well as the interest in improving coordination, since several of the national reference linked to the conferences of major superiors are also linked to the bishops' conferences of their countries. We have agreed to maintain communication without yet arriving at anything concrete, but we have started this communication that may continue. So these are the 12 steps we have done by now. And then the last point, maybe the most important, but I will be quite brief to open a dialogue with you, where to go from here. I list below some initiatives both at European level and at the level of each conference, which continue what have been started and which open up new horizons as far as possible. We can share about them in the subsequent dialogue. Where can we go from here? Well, I think at the European level, first of all, we can exchange, we can continue exchanges, initiatives, and reflections. We started it 1.5 years ago. We did it in the Assembly of National Reference and also some way in the training meeting. We can go on exchanging initiatives and reflections. Second point, we can have differentiated online meetings. That assemblies, which 1 or 2 persons as much of each conference, and training meetings, formation meetings, more open, or maybe other kinds of initiatives. Third idea, go forward in the dialogue with CCEE EVS, with that organization of from the bishops' conferences. Well, by now we think they only have that annual meeting. Now, just these days they are in Cracovia, some of the with other commissions, catechesis, youth, vocations. Well, if they have only that meeting, where once a year, we can think on other things that are complementary with that way they have to work. No? Fourth idea, common studies in each conference, similar to those carried out in the USA on consecrated vocations. I don't know if you know CARA, that institute in the United States. They have each year they have a study on consecrated vocations. Well, something so we could do here, no? In the way we see it would be interesting. Common studies in each conference and joining them together to help to reflect. As another idea, any face-to-face meeting of national reference or teams to promote this project. Maybe in the future. By now we have started by Zoom, which is very comfortable. It's true, but well, maybe in the future we can think one face-to-face meeting of national reference or teams to promote this project. And well, this is open to your ideas and what you want to say. And finally, it will be said here second, at the level of each conference. Well, I think it's interesting to consider how to develop in the best way the vocations apostolate in one's own context. And I think in this way, we can illuminate one to another. I remember the sister from Hungary. She said, oh, we are just starting this coordinating team, this in the short term. And what you say of your conferences, it helped us to think and to organize. No? Well, was thinking about how we can develop the best way the vocations apostolate in its own context. I think it's a great thing we can do together. No? And another idea, to increase collaboration with the bishops' conferences in each country, offering the different models that currently exist in the various countries of Europe. There are many models. There are total collaboration in some countries. There is no collaborations in others. There are some collaboration in other countries. So well, we can study those models of collaboration and well, illuminate one another for this collaboration in this topic, the Vocations Conference, the Vocations Apostolate. And well, this is what I wanted to share. Thank you very much. We have half an hour or more to share. So, well.
Thank you very much, Father Luis Manuel.
Thank you.
It was obvious that you did quite systematic work and you brought together so many countries, which is quite a feat, quite an achievement. So thank you for the all hard work that you and your team has done so far, and for outlining for us, because as you said, the previous General Assembly came up with the initiative and it came to fruition very successfully. And at least to me, it's a sign that there is a possibility to develop something as a UCHESM, and that might be helpful for individual conferences, for each conference, not just so thank you for that. And as you said, now we open floor to questions or sharing about the experiences in our own national conferences, or maybe questions to Father Luis Manuel, or suggestions to Father Luis Manuel, or as he said, what could be the next steps for us to take? If there is something, Father Luis Manuel is very willing to answer.
Father Luis Manuel, Simon Evers from the Netherlands. On a church level, there is also in November a week for vocations. At least our bishops promote that week very much. Do you work also with this week of vocational service?
If I understand you well, you mean in the national level or in world level?
It's an international level in November. as I have understood from our bishops, there is a week for vocation in the second week of November always. Yes, at least our bishops promote that, but you're not aware of that.
No, I just know the fourth Sunday of Easter, which is the Sunday of prayer for vocations. And as you see before, in most of the countries we do something, but no, that week for vocations, I don't know, in November, at least in our
because
country,
we find it as conference a little bit much. So internationally, only the fourth Sunday of Easter is the normal.
Yeah, I think so.
Sunday, yes.
I think so. At least here in Spain, the central date for the common work is that the fourth Sunday of Easter. No, but I think it's okay. Any initiative we have in each country, it's good to join with the bishop conferences. Or, yeah, great.
Any more reactions, questions?
Sono Sorella Maria da Sarajevo, dalla Bosnia ed Erzegovina, e mi interessa come si può fare la parte di quella rete per le vocazioni, come la conferenza della Bosnia ed Erzegovina. Ho visto che non ci siamo in questa rete. Grazie.
I think I don't have the translation activated, but well, more or less, if I understood well, you asked how to collaborate in this project, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I started this with the core group, this project, thanks to the information from the General Secretary they gave us. So I think the point would be one person who can represent in any way the religious conference, the conference of major superiors, can be, you can tell the person if you have, or when you have it, that person to Sister Magdalene or Nicole, and they will tell us and we connect with her. For us, it was important because in the first meeting, as I tried to tell, some people were more something like the responsible of vocations of the congregation, which is okay, but I think this group is called to be the people who can be something like national representatives or national referents related with the conference of religious. No? So it's important you have that say to tell something to take part in this group as representative or your conference.
Thank you, Father. We are a diverse group in terms of language, so there are translations into Italian and French plus English. So, and I encourage everyone, regardless of the language, to ask indeed the questions that might be of interest to you.
Je peux parler en français. Donc c'est Michel, franciscain de Paris. C'est une question par rapport à l'articulation entre le profil des jeunes aujourd'hui et la réponse des congrégations. Entre autres, les jeunes souvent ont des engagements professionnels limités, déterminés dans le temps, et puis plusieurs engagements. Et parfois, on a entendu dire, mais peut-être qu'il faudrait que les engagements ne soient pas définitifs dans la vie religieuse. Est-ce qu'il y a eu une réflexion par rapport à ça de la part de Dieu, ou des réflexions de jeunes par rapport à des nouvelles propositions au niveau d'engagement plus limité dans le temps?
I can understand a little French, so if somebody can translate the main question.
Now we'll have a Simon who is translating this.
Okay.
I try to translate it short, but as I understood it well, it's your question that young people don't long for lifelong engagements, but more for limited time engagements. And is there a reflection upon their attitude? And is there a reflection upon how religious institutes can respond to that? I think that is the question.
Well, I'm not sure what to say. It's true. I share that point of view. That is difficult today. Those long-term commitments, and well, I think maybe in other times where things were more easy, we can say easier. Well, we could be more trusted, but now I think we are called to how to say, to do the best. No, it's not that we are worse than people, religious people, 5 decades ago, but the context is so different that I think it's important to reflect on what kind of religious life we develop. How can we do visible to young people faith and religious life, no? So that they can connect with Christ, and also to consider our life as something possible. No? Don't know if I answer your request.
Do you want to respond now to what you heard? Did he answer your question? No, but that might be the question indeed, that will take time and itself will answer instead of giving a certain answer. My kind of reaction, but a very good question. Any more questions? Or maybe a reflection, not question. Yeah.
Io sono un'invitata, ma mi permetto di parlare. Forse si ricollega un po' anche alla domanda precedente. Lavoro nel dicastero per la vita consacrata. Alcuni anni fa abbiamo organizzato un convegno dal titolo Consecratio, abbiamo parlato latino, Consecratio et Consecratio per Evangelica Consilia. Questo convegno sorgeva dalla necessità di avviare un percorso per giungere a dire oggi l'essenza della vita consacrata nelle sue diverse forme. Per questo dicevo, la domanda si ricollega a quanto detto prima. In questo convegno partecipavano istituti religiosi, istituti secolari, membri dell'Ordo Virginum, società di vita apostolica e i movimenti che hanno dei consacrati al loro interno. E ciascuno in qualche modo ha presentato all'altro il proprio modo di essere, la propria vocazione. La cosa più interessante del convegno è stata che ci siamo accorti che nessuno conosce la vocazione dell'altro. Ora io mi chiedo se oggi in questo tempo, anche alla luce dei testimonianze, relazioni che ci hanno fatto le 2 giovani religiose ieri, che lei non ha potuto ascoltare, non sia tempo di pensare ad una cultura vocazionale che quindi parta, come lei ha detto, dalla conoscenza dei giovani, del contesto, e però che abbia una proposta ampia. E quindi mi chiedevo se non è il caso di pensare come poter realizzare tutto questo. Proprio per dire oggi che cos'è la vita religiosa, forse bisogna farlo anche guardando intorno alle forme di vita consacrata e anche alle altre forme di vita che sono molto vicine.
Yeah,
Did you understand?
Yeah. Italian is better for me. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with all you have shared. I think we have the first challenge we have is connection with young people. That connection, maybe some decades ago, it was easier. Today, sometimes it's not so easy. So that connection, meeting with them as Christ with the disciples of Emmaus, sharing time with them. In the training meeting on May, Jesuit from Poland, who was in Denmark, he underlined it. We have to connect with young people, and then we have to propose faith, or to help them to grow in faith. And the third step, I think, is what you have said. We have to set in that vocational culture, which is important, to know all the different way of living Christianity, all the possible forms of also consecrated life, and then so that young people can have that field to search and to discover the way of being. Also lay way of life, marriage, family, work. I think in that point, Christus Vivit is a good guideline, because well, I think the three words of the synodal process: youth, connection with youth, faith. If there is no faith, there won't be any possible vocation. So to start in faith and to grow in faith is the basis of any vocation. And then that vocational ministry, in the 8th chapter of Christus Vivit, the Pope starts with the first calling is the calling of the friendship of Jesus. And then from there, he starts with family, work, and calling to a special vocation. That term of vocational culture is very interesting. I'm sure you have heard about it. I think it was Saint John Paul II who started talking about vocational culture in the final 90s. He gave it, the Pope John Paul II gave that vocational culture a very wide significance, a very wide meaning. He talked about the sense of generosity, the sense of transcendence. So those basic values, which are in the basis of each search and the basis of faith. And other people use that vocational culture, something more like I have understood you said, that knowing all the vocations in church, lay vocations, consecrated vocations, all rooted in the baptism vocation. So yeah, I agree with you. The basis is in that culture, vocational culture. Even previously, I would say connecting with young people and then helping them to birth or to grow in faith. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We still have some time. Maybe one or two questions or reflections more.
In the Netherlands, there's always a discussion within the conference. Is vocation apostolate a responsibility of the conference or a responsibility of the individual religious institutes? And we have chosen now a little bit the path of the responsibility of the individual religious institutes, because in the Netherlands we had quite a strong vocational service on the conference level, but then the person nearly became the novice master of the conference, of the whole, and we didn't find that a good idea. You understand?
I think I've understood. I will say something and you can tell me. Well, I think it can be both. I mean, of course, that individual religious institutes have to worry about pastoral care and vocational care. At the same time, I think the conferences can have can be a good help in that work of each religious institute. I think we are in times of synodality, synodality can be lived in many levels, also between congregations. No? And for that, the conferences of major superiors are a good platform, I think. I think what can do an individual religious institute is different what can be done by the religious conference. I know more my religious conference in Spain, but I think in other countries can be something similar. In our conference, in the level of the conference, we do some big gathering once a year, which join 300, 400 people from all the congregations, religious people and lay people who works in youth and vocational ministry. And it's a time of gathering, of formation, of thinking together. So it's very good. No? And we do another formation meetings. We do another gathering with young people. Well, things we do together that each individual institute cannot do. No? At the same time, we realize that the normal work, the ordinary work, is held by each religious institute. So the accent is there. No? The quotidian, the ordinary work is there. So I think it's, well, in each conference, maybe the situation is different, but I think it's complementary what the individual religious institutes can do in the ordinary work, with some proposals for all the congregations, or even with relation with the bishops' conference or other institutions that can be held to help the responsibles of each congregation to develop and grow in their work. I don't know if it was the point.
It's thank you. I think yes. I don't know whether anyone else wants. Maybe Father Jolt wants. I have a feeling that he wants to say something.
Grazie. Ciao. Allora, come hai detto, questo progetto è partito dall'Assemblea Generale in 2020. E guardando questi passi che avete fatto, siamo molto grati a te e a Core Group per il lavoro. E adesso siamo qua nell'Assemblea Generale, i presidenti e vicepresidenti, segretari generali delle conferenze nazionali. La mia domanda sarebbe se ci sia qualcosa con la quale queste persone, i presidenti, i vicepresidenti delle conferenze nazionali, possano aiutare il tuo lavoro. Se tu vorresti chiedere qualcosa a questo gruppo, perché sì, forse...
No? Well, maybe first question would be, in the conferences where there are no people, if you consider it's good to have someone, I think you, presidents and vice presidents, or general secretaries, are the person to tell Sister Magdalene, well, here there is a person who can connect with this network. No? So that would be the first point. The second point would be giving us ideas. How could we increase this work or organize? Yeah. So if you have some ideas now, or afterwards in the time you talk in linguistic group, we are willing to hear. And also maybe I was thinking the president or secretary, maybe for the core group, you know, all of us, we have lots of work, so sometimes it's not easy to find someone to help more, or to be like secretary of the group, the core group. So well, maybe after this meeting, I will ask Father Janis, or if someone can do, or I ask you if some of your people can do as the secretary of this core group, no? Because well, I think most of the work for the starting work is done. Most of the starting work is done, but well, to continue this working, maybe it would be good someone who can do the notes of the meetings we have, the connection with the national reference, even someone who can do the videos of the meetings we have. So the condition would be that could speak in English. The core group by now, maybe the next day or the next year or the next 2 years, they change the coordinator and the people in the group can speak in Italian or a language. But by now we can communicate in English. So if you have some person, if you're in your conferences of that national reference that can speak English and could be the secretary or someone who communicate or do this video works or something, it would be great.
So basically, if you have anyone on mind that you could volunteer for this, and then please get in touch. Possibly not yourselves, but someone, someone other that is not present here. Anyway, last chance. It seems everyone is happy, smiling, and pleased with what you said to us and with the work that you've done so far. I think it's truly great, bringing together and talking and researching, and that's very lovely. And I hope that it will continue this way, and indeed that we'll find possibilities to engage and to facilitate the vocation ministry or apostolate in individual conferences, but as well as to the European level. I think I'll say thank you one more time, Father Luis Manuel, for all you've done, and for today, that you found time to be with us and to report in a way what you've done so far and provoke us to think further. We will have, after coffee break, a small discussion about what you said and maybe expanding the vocation topic even further or deeper, hopefully. But thank you one more time. Big applauses to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you and blessings.
Yeah. Thank you and bye-bye. See you next time in presence.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Have a nice meeting.
So, for Father Luis Manuel, everything is ended here.